Hey, what's going on, everybody? Ryan Knup here, Knup Sports Show, episode 170. I guess every 10 episodes, I think it's a milestone. So another milestone, 170 in the books. Excited to be here today. Excited that you're listening, taking a few minutes and giving a little attention to this awesome show that we've had some fun with over the last several years now. Today, we have another very special guest. I always love bringing guests on that are doing awesome things in sports business, in fantasy sports, in sports betting, you name it in the sports area. We love having them on and to hear a little bit about what they're doing. And today, we have Bob Lung of the Fantasy Football Expo. Bob, are you with me?
How you doing? Yeah, thanks, Ryan, for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, my pleasure. I'm excited to hear what you got going on. I'm excited to hear about yourself. But first of all, how's life in Ohio treating you?
Well, right now I'm sitting in Detroit at the FSGA conference, but life in Ohio is great. I'm born and raised in the Canton area, so I've lived there all my life. So the Hall of Fame has always been a big deal to me and everything that they do. And I'm also a driver during Hall of Fame weekend for the enshrinees. So it's my 33rd year now. So I've driven everybody from Al Davis to John Madden to John Lynch last year and Brian Dawkins and and I've met them, almost all of the guys at some point, shake their hands, kind of thing. It truly is a fantasy football weekend there because it's just a fantasy with the best of the best football players ever. It's nothing to not be just sitting there walking past Emmitt Smith and Jerry Rice. And, so this year I'm actually going to be driving Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders, who is presenting for Cliff Branch, who has passed away. But he's going to be there to represent him. I'm kind of a Browns fan because where I live, but Raiders fan has always been my back since the 70s when they were the only team that could beat the Steelers because the Browns couldn't back in the 70s. So I kind of latched on to them. And like I said, I drove Al 16 years ago when he was presenting for John Madden, and it was an awesome experience. And then so when it came up that Mark was coming in, I go, oh, yeah, I think I'll drive Mark. That sounds fun.
That's really cool. So it sounds like you got a lot of fun stories probably in the football and in sports.
Oh, I got days of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Days of 10 episodes on those stories. Yeah.
That's amazing. But, I want to dive into Fantasy Football Expo and what it is and all about it and make sure people understand that. But first, I want to hear, I know you told me a little bit about yourself there, but before we get into that, tell us more about like your fantasy football or your fantasy love, and how that started and your journey that got you to where you are today.
Well, it started in 1985 when a friend of mine came home with this little book written by a guy named, I think it's Chris Charpentier or something like that. And it was just called Playing Fantasy Football. Very simple, small, maybe, 30 pages, small little book, And my buddy gave it to me. He said, hey, I just read this. Looks like a lot of fun. We should get all of our guys together, all my friends together. Let's have a league. Okay. Didn't even think twice that this was going to be something that was going to blow up into 60 million people playing it worldwide or nationwide. Worldwide, probably even higher. So we started, and for those of you who, back in the Jurassic Park era when we didn't have internet, we did everything by hand. Luckily, I worked for a accounting firm that had PCs, which 256 meg hard drive kind of thing, with Lotus 123. And created a sheet for the results each week, mailed out 12 envelopes every Wednesday. So they got them by Friday. And then they would call my answer machine. When I got home from church on Sunday, there'd be like 43 messages with all the lineups and their changes. And but by 1:00, and that's how we ran until the internet and Yahoo created the first online tracking. And as they say, the rest is history. So that was the fantasy start. 2002, I created my own consistency calculation for the consistency of the players because I didn't even make the playoffs one year when I had Sean Alexander as my MVP. He was the MVP that year. I had Sean Alexander, went 7-7 and didn't even make the playoffs, but I was the second highest scores team. And what I realized was that he scored like 5 points in one game or 5 touchdowns in one game, 3 in another, 2 in another. So like 2/3 of his touchdowns were in 3 games. And most of the other ones, he got zeros. So, if I looked and I thought, well, man, if he just scored 1 touchdown a week, I would have won 2 more games.
Yep.
I didn't need to win by 30 some of those weeks, like the guy one week he had 5 touchdowns. And I would have won 2 more games, made the playoffs, and won the championship. And that's really where the consistency thing came in. And long story short, about 6 years ago, I decided to write my own book. Amazon has that ability. You can upload your own PDF and make a book out of it. And I'm like, that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So I did that, and first year sold about 65 copies. That was cool.
Yep.
I didn't know anybody would buy any of them, but they did. And then the next year sold maybe a little over 100. But that year I submitted the book to the Fantasy Sports Writers America, who have an annual competition for like best articles and best printed publications. And I didn't think, I just thought I'll send it in and see what happens. Well, I got nominated for one of the best guides in the country.
Wow.
And fast forward, it's been 5 straight years I've been nominated for best publication in the country. And in 2018, won the actual award. So here we are today, and now I sell about 2,000 to 3,000 copies a year. So that's kind of fun. That's what kind of got me into the community of the fantasy football experts and analysts, whatever you want to call it. And so it kind of brings me up to 2018. So again, living in Canton, seeing the Hall of Fame, watching it grow from a very small 2-day event into a 5-day extravaganza of parties and, parades and just all kinds of stuff. I thought, well, we really should have like a fantasy football weekend the week after Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
People can come there, they can tour the hall. We can, do an expo, a trade show booths and panel discussions and stuff like that. But on Saturday, we'll have drafts that people can participate in. And the one thing we really didn't have in the industry was a best of the best competition, live draft competition. And so I talked to, at that point, I finally earned some street cred after 20 years. And so Mike Clay of ESPN, Brad Evans of Yahoo Sports at the time were colleagues of mine. And I emailed them like, hey, what do you think about doing this? We'll do it. We'll draft in the Hall of Fame. They've got this gold jacket lounge. It'll be perfect. We'll get SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio to come. And they did. And it worked. So we started at 2018, 2019. We had the first expo the next day. So that was the first full weekend we had was 2019. And the expo was nice. They sold all 30 booths, but only about 75 people came. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that was fun. Wasn't what I expected, but, we'll do better next year. The next year said, no, you're not doing anything. That was called 2020. So COVID shot everything down. So we don't do anything in 2020. 2021, it's February, March. And I'm like, well, these vaccines are coming out. Things should be better. Why don't we go ahead and put one on in 2021? And I think it was a combination of people just being cooped up for a year and a half and the fact that it was a fun weekend in Canton, Ohio. And last year we had over 500 people show up.
Wow.
And 70% of them were from out of state. I had people coming from Hawaii, California, Florida, Mexico. It was just dumbfounding how it just blew up. And so now we're heading into 2022. We're assuming we're going to break the 500 mark and have a much better year. Now, so again, there's always quirks, right? So this year, it's not COVID that's deterring people from coming. It's cost of travel. So airfare, gasoline, some of that stuff. So I think we're still going to have a good year. I was really hoping to double it to 1,000. Not sure we're going to make it. You never know. A lot of people kind of wait to the last minute, and I know they're. So anyway, as you said there, so as you showed, there's the website. It's only $75 for the whole weekend, and you get wristbands to go to the Friday night party, Saturday night party, drafts during the day on Saturday, like in the morning and the afternoon. Sunday is the big expo at the DoubleTree Hotel. We're having panel discussions on every topic you can think of. So redraft strategies, dynasty, whatever the case may be. And as you see, NBC Sports Edge, NBC Sports is our title sponsor. They're bringing all their big names from NBC. Just basically every fantasy site you can think of, somebody will be there representing them.
Yeah.
We have, like I said, we have the Kings Classic. So we have guys like Andy Behrens from Yahoo, Mike Clay from ESPN, Dave Richards from CBS Sports, Brad Evans at Yahoo and now is part of Bally's, Michael Fabiano from Sports Illustrated, Marcus Grant from the NFL Network. I mean, you just on and on the list of people that will be attending that you'll be able to hang out with. And that's what the best thing is. It's so much fun. The community is amazing.
Yeah.
The one thing you'll never see at a fantasy conference is people getting edgy and, talking race or talking, what's your sexuality. That stuff is not even close to all. I don't care who they are. If we're talking fantasy. I don't care if you're green and you have long ears.
Yep.
We're going to talk fantasy. I don't care who you are, what you look like, gender. It doesn't even come into play. And that's what's great is there is none of that. So that's what's super. I mean, it's a fantastic time. So it's only $75 for the whole weekend. We've got all kinds of hotels with discounted rates. Everything is within 10 minutes in Canton. So you don't have to worry about, I don't want to stay at this hotel. I want to be closer. Nah. Any hotel you're at, you're 10 minutes away from everything. So that's what's nice about Canton, Ohio. It's pretty tiny compared to most cities. And like you said, and you get a ticket to tour the Hall of Fame while you're there too. And at that point, I mean, that's $35. So that's half the cost right there. So like you said, we just want people to come and have a good time. We're almost sold out on the booth. We have 50 booths available this year, but I think we only have 3 left. Those are almost all sold out. Most of the sponsorships are all gone. Like you said, NBC Sports, Fantasy Points, which is John Hanson's group. So it's just a great time. I'm still dumbfounded how this all came together. But I've been in the industry 20 years. I've seen a lot of big national conventions put on for fantasy football. And the one thing I always said is that they were always too big and too expensive.
Yeah.
Like I went to one in Atlantic City Convention Center. Could have held 40,000 people in there. Sure. They were hoping for 25. They got 2,500 instead of 25,000. So needless to say, it didn't go well. But it was $100 just to get in for one day. So, if you wanted a 2-day pass with like $200, can't do that. And the same way Tony Romo did one, but the booths were like $1,500. I mean, our booths are $375.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people like me that have full-time real jobs that just do this for fun, make a little money on the side. But it's just about being in the community. And that was why I created this, was that all of those folks like me, not the guys that work for ESPN, and they're all great. I love those guys. And I was actually just talking with the Andy Barons yesterday at the conference here. But they love to come to it. They're just as cool and down to earth as I am or anybody else is.
Yep.
And that's what's it. There's no egos, none of that kind of stuff. So it's just a great time. And if you live anywhere near the Canton, Ohio area, try to make it. I mean, even if it's a 5-6 hour drive, and a lot of people are coming from Philly and Chicago and Minnesota, and So that's the short story.
I mean, you make my job easy here in this, Bob.
Sorry you didn't talk.
I went through every question I had and basically nailed them all. So I mean, great on that. Man, it sounds like an awesome weekend. It really does. So it's August 12th to 14th, right? August 12th to 14th in Canton, Ohio. I had a question, and this is not directly related to I have lots of questions, but one that I want to bring up before we run out of time is simply around the attention of fantasy football as a whole, not necessarily the Expo or anything like that, but we're seeing a lot of attention these days on the sports betting side of things, right? Sports betting's taken off in the United States, and we're getting all these people interested in that. Are you seeing, being in the industry 20 years, being a fantasy football in love with fantasy football.
Yeah.
Are you seeing more or less attention to what we want to call the traditional fantasy football world? Are you seeing more or less of that as years go on?
I don't think I'm seeing either. What I'm seeing is I think everybody's still in their home leagues, we'll call them, their buddies or friends or who are the people at work. Everybody's still into their fantasy football leagues. But what the like DFS and sports betting brings is that little added bonus, because guess what? By about halfway through the season, there are definitely some teams like, I'm not going to play us. I'll pay attention to my team, but you know what? How about I go drop a few prop bets on some of these players, or go do a little betting here if it's legal in your state, or play DFS, and it allows them to still stay engaged in the players and in the sport,
sure,
even if their team is not doing that great. So I think it's kind of like the fries to the Big Mac, right? I mean, it's just, So and that's what I see. Like when we talk here at the conference, which is a lot of the business aspect of it. Yeah, there's certainly big money being thrown at anything that has to do with gambling and DFS, and because that's where the big money is. But in the long run, everybody still loves playing in their leagues, and still trash talking their buddies and wearing their trophy or their championship ring or whatever they have. And that is really what fantasy has always been about.
Yeah.
It's been about having fun. Problem is that some of us go way too much into it, and it becomes, they make it more work. And again, you can be as into it as or not.
Yeah.
I mean, I certainly know that there's a lot of people out there that literally drive or show up to their draft with the magazine they bought on the way there and their 12-pack of beer, and that's the amount of effort they're going to put into it.
Yeah.
If they win, great. If they don't, they had fun. It was a good party, and So I don't see really any drop off.
Interesting. No. Yeah, no, that's good. Thank you for the kind of the insight into that. So we're now like less than 2 months away from the Fantasy Football Expo, which is amazing for you, amazing for the event. But what's even better is when that time comes, you always start thinking, oh my gosh, football is here, right? Football is here.
Yeah.
So people, I mean, it's like the perfect time to have this because that is exactly when people get excited about drafts. They're drafting. Are you seeing like full leagues come and like do their draft around this weekend and kind of hang out and do stuff? Is that like not necessarily what they're doing?
Not at this point. I think a lot. I mean, first off, I know how difficult it is just to get my buddies to get online to put a draft together.
Exactly.
To get 12 of them to drive and show up at a location is not even remotely thought of. I think a lot of people maybe come with 3 or 4 of their friends who are in a league with them, and all make a road trip out of it and spend the weekend, have a good time. That's what it's really about. Now, if a whole league showed up, I'd probably, take pictures and have a special thing or something. They might all have same shirts on. I mean, it's kind of like the bride, like a bachelorette party where they all have the same shirts and I could see something like that. Haven't seen it yet, but and there's no reason they can't. If they wanted to come and do that, I'm sure we could give them a conference room in the hotel and and let them draft on that Saturday if they wanted to do that together.
Sure,
that would be super cool. Yeah.
So people, how do they sign up? Just head out to the website.
Just go to the fantasyfootballexpo.com. Click on buy tickets. That homepage that you showed where it had to learn more. That's a really good place to start because it really breaks down the entire weekend. It doesn't literally have times. We will be putting those up, and we know those are. But that whole thing just goes through Friday night party, Saturday draft day, Saturday night party, the expo. So
amazing.
And it shows a picture. So that's the dome that they're building at Hall of Fame Village that we're going to have the party at indoors. And on Saturday night, not only are we doing a party in there, we're having a flag football tournament and a quarterback skills challenge right on the field.
What? That's amazing.
So, awesome. These guys have been begging, while even though there are some women that come to this, I'm not going to lie.
Sure.
It's we're just a bunch of 18-year-old boys that just want to compete against each other for the thrill of competition. So that's why there's a cornhole tournament at the Friday night party. That's why there's, these 2 events at the Saturday night party. These guys wanted me to set up a combine for them.
Yeah.
Let's just do quarterback skills challenge. I don't need anybody blasting their hamstrings out because they're trying to run a 40-yard dash in under 10 seconds.
I know.
So
we all think we still have it, right?
I know exactly, and that's it, exactly it. So I said, look, I'll and that's what's fun about this is that it's an open canvas for whatever everybody wants to do. I've already had people say we should do a golf outing. We should do this. I'm like, we only have so much. We can't make this a week, guys. I have a job. But I love the enthusiasm. But we've had guys who are like, hey, a bunch of us are getting together. They're going to go golf on Saturday instead of do drafts. Good for you. That sounds like a great idea.
I mean, I'm sure the energy around the event's amazing. And if you ever wanted an excuse to go party and hang out in Canton, Ohio, this is the best excuse you can find to go to Canton, Ohio. So, I mean, definitely looks amazing. We'll definitely put the link up here to the fantasyfootballexpo.com. I'd encourage everyone listening to at least check it out, right? See if your weekend's free that time. I'm going to check it out. I'm going to talk to the wife and see if I can get it.
That'd be awesome.
Buddies, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But Bob, what else? I mean, I know I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know you're a busy guy. We all got things going on. But what else did we miss? What else did you want to touch on before I let you go here?
Well, as we talked about, the consistency guide is something I put out every year. It's on Amazon. Just go to your Amazon, you can type in 2022 consistency. I guarantee you it's the first thing that pops up.
Cool.
But it's out there. Buy the guide. Once you get the guide, it'll have a coupon code at the bottom of the pages. Then you can go to Big Guy Fantasy Sports, which is my website, and get access to all of the consistency data. There's all kinds of cool reports there. You can put in your own scoring method. It will tell you how consistent the players were in your league under your scoring method. We've got historical game scenarios. So for you DFS and bettors, you can literally go in and see, let's say Aaron Rodgers is playing at home against the top 10 defense this week. You can go in, it'll show you over the last 1, 2, 3, 5 years that he's played for the Packers and how consistent and what his fantasy points per game is. And you might see, he does really well. And I should maybe put a prop bet on that, number or, whatever the case may be. And it's got all kinds of cool tools like that to make it easy for people to understand and to be able to use it in whatever they play.
And living and breathing fantasy football. I love it. It's we'll put the link to that as well. But you said bigguyfantasysports.com is kind of a resource site and a little more on the resources, and then Amazon to grab the consistency guide. And it's called just that, right? The consistency
2022 Fantasy Football Consistency Guide. Yep.
Love it, Bob. Man, you're doing some great things. It was really good to chat with you here. I hope to be able to get to one of these fantasy football expos. If not this year, maybe next year. Whenever I can get there, that would be amazing. So props on all the success, and I really hope you do hit that. What are you trying to get to?
1,000 people this year, but
1,000 people. Let's get there.
Close. I don't know if we'll do it, but I'm hoping.
Hey, a little marketing push, and you'll get there.
Yeah. We're gonna be pushing hard the next 2 months for sure. And if we don't hit it, that's fine. I mean, I get it. It's very expensive to drive. It's very expensive to travel. I'm flying out to California. It was like $1,500 for my wife and I, and that was the cheapest tickets I could get. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So I get it. It's people.
If somebody wanted to contact you, how would they get a hold of you? Or are you off limits?
No, I'm never off. In fact, I encourage. So just the best way, honestly, if you go on Twitter, follow me at Bob_Lung. When you do, I usually follow back, and then we can DM there. Or you can just email me at Bob at either Big Guy Fantasy Sports or Bob at thefantasyfootballexpo.com. Either one will work as well, email wise. So again, Ryan, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed this. Hope you can make it, man.
Absolutely. Good luck with the event. Thanks for joining me. And if I can do anything for you, I welcome that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right,
man.
take care. All right, guys, that was Bob Lung of the Fantasy Football Expo, Big Guy Fantasy Sports. I mean, everything and anything you want in the fantasy football space, Bob's your guy. So really excited to have him on. I think that sounds like an amazing event, and I've never been to Canton, Ohio, but I've been wanting an excuse to get to the Hall of Fame area and all the things that are going on around there. So maybe this is just that excuse to make me travel a little bit and head there. We'll put up all of those links in the show notes. We'll put everything we mentioned today. We'll put links in there so you don't have to go back and find them. We will put those in the show notes. Thank you so much for tuning in today and listening. If you have another guest you would love to come on and you think would be a good guest on our show, please, you can find me at Ryan Newpel, at Knup, anywhere on social media. I like to be out on LinkedIn as well if you want to find me on there. So take care. Until next time, stay safe. I'm Ryan Newpel, checking out. Have a good one. Bye-bye.